Well, good Sunday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. I'm your meteorologist, Jesse Peterson, and let's go on and talk about this week's forecast update. It is finally, finally that time to talk about another week's forecast update. And honestly, this one is going to be just as active as probably some of the same ones that we've been talking about for weeks prior for weather's going to flip as we move throughout the week. One part of the week may be a summertime full, kind of like a regular summertime pattern, while the other part kind of goes into a more severe weather, more excessive rainfall type pattern. And so that's the reason why you can see on the screen this week features two completely different weather patterns. And we're going to go over that in just a moment. But first, before we get into that, what is on tap for tonight? Locally heavy rainfall possible this evening. Hotter conditions return Monday and Tuesday. Highs in the mid to upper 90s. Heat in the seas 100 to 114 degrees possible. Strong to severe thunderstorms possible Tuesday afternoon and evening into Wednesday ahead of the cold front. And a front brings slightly cooler and less humid conditions Wednesday going over into Friday. So we have a lot of things that's going to happen, a lot of things that's going to change up and kind of go on. We're going to go over all of that, and we're going to go over the model. So, um, number one, my apologies for being a little bit late tonight. I know it is already 8:14, so that's my apologies for that. But we are here, and then for the most part, that's about all. So if you've not hit the like button yet or the subscribe button yet, please go on and do so as it's free. It's free. It's free. So what's currently going on throughout the state of South Carolina? Well, overall, you see some nice dry conditions up here in the upstate. You see some more rainfall over here near Great Falls, South Carolina. You see some more rainfall over here with some storm activity from Beaufort to Bluffton over towards Hilton Head Island. We have a special weather statement with 50-mile-per-hour winds. That's what these storms right here are producing. 50-mile-per-hour winds that's headed towards Edisto Beach, Hilton Head Island, Bluffton, Beaufort, Port Royal. And so that's what we're currently seeing in those areas. Everybody else, though, looking pretty good. Now, what's going on throughout the entire U.S. in terms of current weather? Well, we do have some severe weather in Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky. See some more rainfall moving on over here inside the Northeast, inside of Virginia, and then even some more storm activity in Montana, Wyoming, and then down there inside of the Four Corners area, we have some flooding activity with some flood watches over there. Up here in northwestern Washington, we have some more rainfall kind of moving on in those areas. Now, what about our cloud cover? Well, cloud cover right now actually seems to be a lot thinner than what we were, already kind of receiving. And you're not seeing as much, right now. But if you look at our cloud cover for the future, don't worry, that cloud cover will be trying to make a return. This is Monday morning around 7 a.m. going to 8 a.m. The entire state covered it once again with cloud cover. And as we move over into Monday evening, going into Tuesday morning, we get another bit of a break going into that time frame. But as you get more into Tuesday late morning, going to the afternoon, we're back getting some more cloud cover. Now for our current temperatures, we're talking about 79 Summerville, 81 Charleston, even 81 in Beaufort, 82 in Aiken, and 81 inside of Orangeburg, 79 Georgetown, and 78 in Conway, 80 Florence, and 80 in Hartsville, 81 Lugoff, and 82 in Columbia, 83 Newberry, and 83 in Greenwood, 83 also inside of Greenville, Spartanburg, and 82 in Gaffney, York, and Rock Hill. Now, for our air quality for tonight, it looks like that the majority of us are inside that good category. But if you look in like the western Columbia areas towards Lexington, over there towards Florence, we have a moderate risk of air quality. That is for not too bad of air quality, but also not too great of air quality either. If you are inside the yellow, just make sure that you're paying attention for that air quality for tonight. Low temperatures for tonight, we're talking about 71 in Greenville, 70 inside of Spartanburg, also around 69 in Rock Hill, 72 inside of Columbia, even around 72 in Orangeburg, 72 Moncks Corner in Walterboro, 76 in Charleston, 72 Georgetown, 74 in Myrtle Beach. High temperatures for tomorrow, we're talking about 92 in Greenville, Spartanburg, even 93 in Columbia, 93 in Orangeburg, and 91 in Charleston, 92 in Moncks Corner, and 91 in Florence, Cheraw, 87 over there inside of Myrtle Beach, and then 90 over there in Georgetown. Now, as we go into these heat index temperatures for tomorrow, you can see for sure that a lot of us are trying to get to 100 plus. I mean, from Columbia to Orangeburg, over into Charleston to Moncks Corner, a lot of us wants to try to be towards that 100 plus zone, and some of us may even get close to 110. Look over near Hilton Head Island, 108 degrees, and it could potentially get hotter than that. It could potentially get hotter than that if the conditions are just right. And so that's something definitely to watch for as we go into tomorrow if you're in those low country areas, especially those coastal low country areas, is how hot is it going to get in those areas there. Rainfall as we go over into tonight, into tomorrow night as well. So this is the next 24 hours. You see maybe around 100th of an inch to a 10th of an inch for a lot of areas like Dillon, going over towards Georgetown, Moncks Corner, Walterboro, maybe even a 10th of an inch to a quarter of an inch over there in Kingstree, Myrtle Beach, and then a quarter of an inch to a half an inch over there for Charleston and Hilton Head Island. So a lot of us, kind of receiving some more rainfall. And I mean, you see down there near Hilton Head Island and Beaufort, they're already receiving a good amount of precipitation as well. So that's going to add on to their total. Now, for the SPC outlook for tonight, we still technically have that marginal risk of severe weather. We technically still do have that marginal risk of severe weather over there. Rock Hill, Columbia, Florence, Aiken, and Charleston, Hilton Island. But I mean, I don't really see too much of anything else really going on. I mean, once this thunderstorm activity like Hilton Head Island going over into Beaufort is done, I really think that our severe weather threat is over. And we still have strong storms going on, so marginal risk kind of still happening. And usually with the marginal risk, you include strong storms, maybe some severe ones as well, because marginal is usually kind of just like the bottom of the severe weather category there. And so technically, I think that this risk is still going on with that Hilton Head Island and Beaufort area storm. So we're going to say that it's still kind of justified for now, but once that's gone, like I said, I don't really think that there's no need for this marginal risk anymore. Now, tomorrow, nothing. We just could see some thunderstorm activity, regular thunderstorm activity tomorrow. And then Tuesday comes in, and Tuesday actually did expand a little bit. If you remember, Tuesday only really included like the northern PD areas, maybe a little bit of the northern Piedmont, but now it goes all the way into the upstate, the foothills. I mean, all the way over towards that South Carolina Georgia border. And so we have a slight risk of severe weather over there for those northern areas. And then if you're in the dark green, your areas like Florence, Myrtle Beach going on over inside of over in like Newberry and Greenwood, etc., you have a 5% risk of severe storms as you move over into Tuesday. Now, I think the main threat is damaging winds. That's just my opinion. I think that the main threat is going to be damaging winds. But even if you move down over into the light green from Columbia over to Aiken, over the side of Charleston and Hilton Island, no severe threat for right now, but you could still see some thunderstorm activity nonetheless. Excessive rainfall wise, scattered flash flooding still possible down there inside the low country areas, moving over inside of the southern Midlands, etc. If you're in the green, you have a 5% risk. That's from like the central Midlands over inside of the over inside the Grand Strand areas and over inside the very, very western low country. And then tomorrow, we're good. Monday, Tuesday, we have like a little risk up here near McCall inside of South Carolina. That's for Tuesday. Then as we move over into Wednesday, we're good. And then Thursday, we're also good. So, honestly, once we move throughout, the next week or so, or this week, we're not really seeing too much in terms of excessive rainfall from what we have been usually seeing this week so far. Now, for the crazy score, we're at a 13 right now. We are at a 13. No fire weather. We're at a 13 right now, and the reason why, we have a couple of alerts. Obviously, the special weather statement right now is kind of occupying about 6 of those points, and then down there in the conditions tab, you have a 7. You have a 7 over there. That is for, there's some cloud cover going on in the low country, so that kind of adds it up. And also, it's still, in the 80s as you move later on into tonight. So, like 84 still in Columbia, 82 in Charleston, 87, that may be a bit too high, but 87 over there inside of Aiken. And then overall, that kind of just adds up on that score, adding 7 more points there. So as we go in and take a look over at the models now, we're going to start off with the short-term future first, then we're going to go in and talk about the long-term future because obviously, as we do, we want to go on and talk about the short-term and then the long-term, then going over into the week forecast. So we're going to start off with the short-term for this week first. And as we start off here at 8 o'clock p.m., we push this forward into tonight, and you don't see much. I mean, yeah, you see some shower, maybe some heavy thunderstorm activity in areas of Georgia going in the early morning tomorrow. But over in South Carolina, I mean, it looks like that we're relatively in the clear until we get to around 1, 2, 3 p.m., to where showers and storms start to form. They start to form from the Midlands to the PD to the Grand Strand to the Low Country. I mean, all the way through to like 4 o'clock p.m. We are seeing a good amount of shower and storm activity, especially in the Low Country areas, moving on later into the evening. Now, as you go to around 10 p.m., going all the way to 12 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, more shower, more storm activity going on. And honestly, it gets pretty active. It gets pretty widespread, pretty active as we move into around like Tuesday at like 12 a.m. or so. But then you go to around 3, 4, 5 a.m. or so, even to 6 a.m. I mean, you're seeing a good amount of clearing kind of going on in terms of our official totals here. So I'm not kind of going back to that summertime pattern as we move into tomorrow. And then even on Tuesday, I mean, it just really just looks like we're going to continue to see, that active activity, that active thunderstorm activity during the afternoon, maybe some morning shower activity like you can see here on Tuesday, like 10, 11 a.m., going even to noon up there in the upstate on Tuesday, but the thunderstorms get going during the afternoon. And so that's the typical summer pattern that we're seeing. So what about for the rest of the week? We're going to start off here, same, point of where we just left off at. And as we go on and push this forward, one thing that you can see is as the risk moves in on Tuesday for our risk of severe weather, it kind of moves through. And, the convection for it, according to the GFS, I'm still not really too sold from the convection from the GFS here. I mean, it's still not really as organized as I was, as you may think. But again, it is a long-term model. It's not really the best for when it comes to this stuff, but just something to keep an eye on. You move over into Tuesday, going over into like Tuesday night, going into Wednesday, and that severe weather threat kind of goes a bit into the overnight, but ends as you get into Wednesday. Wednesday going over into Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, just continues to kind of just stay back on that summertime trend there. But then as we move into Saturday, look at Saturday. Saturday brings in a pretty big storm system, even going into next week Sunday. I mean, look at how active it starts to get over here in the state. Now, as we go on and see what's going on in terms of our precipitation for the state, are we going to be more above average? Are we going to be more below average? Is it going to be just average? What are we looking at in terms of precipitation anomalies? And to be honest, it's looking like that we're going to be below average this week for precipitation, according to the anomalies here from the CFS. And so that goes all the way from the 26th going all the way into August the 2nd. And so below average this week in terms of precipitation. So, that is kind of what I was expecting. I mean, we don't really see any major excessive, rainfall risk as we move throughout the majority of the week. And then kind of going into Wednesday through Friday. Wednesday through Friday isn't really going to be all that much. Tuesday may not even bring that much rainfall. Like I said, the convection on the GFS isn't really too promising. And then as you move over later on, Saturday, Sunday, that's towards like the end of the week there. So it kind of does make sense. It kind of does make sense to why we would technically be a bit more below average this week. Now, if we go on and take a look at the actual temperatures, so we're going to start off here tonight, going over into tomorrow. We go over into tomorrow morning here, going into tomorrow afternoon. Obviously we're warmer than average, moving through Tuesday, but then as we move into Wednesday, look at how cool we get going into Thursday. Now, I will say, It still is technically above average because we're around 5 degrees above average, but I will say 10 to 15 degrees above average is, not obviously as cool as 5 to 10 degrees above average. So it did cool us down a little bit, but we're still going to be above average in terms of temperatures, and it's still going to be hot regardless. Now, as we move over into Friday, look at that huge cold blast moving in over there, going into Saturday later on. But Friday looks pretty warm as well. Saturday comes in, things start to cool down there. And then Sunday comes in, and things are really cooling down moving into next week. But that's another system that we're going to have to watch out for. I think that's, if we don't really include the cold front and the severe weather threat going into Tuesday and Wednesday, Saturday, that's probably our next big area to watch for. Going into Saturday, next weekend, and Sunday. And so, what does the precipitation or the temperature anomalies say? Well, the temperature anomalies have us above average. Again, don't think anybody's too shocked by that. Just as we're not really seeing too much from that cold front on Wednesday, and going into Saturday, like I said, that's a bit too far out into the week to really bring that average down that much. So we could, we're gonna watch it, gonna continue to monitor, see what happens with it, with the cold front as we move later on into like that Tuesday, that Wednesday time frame, and then especially moving on to Saturday because that is, a long ways away. That's a long ways away. And so as we move on later on into the week, we'll have more information and we will go on and dissect that more and more as we get closer and closer. Now, I'm going to show the rest of the model. So what about if we go past this week? What happens if we go past this week? Well, if we go in and start off moving through Saturday, going over into Sunday of next week, obviously we know it's going to be active. But then as we start off Monday, going over into Tuesday, more rainfall activity going on throughout the state. You even go into Wednesday and Thursday, Friday. I mean, it looks like a pretty active week next week, just to be honest. But if we move into Sunday and Monday, we have a low pressure starting to form down there as well going into Sunday of August the 9th. I know that's a long ways away. But that, has some tropical characteristics to it. So the tropics may be coming back in session as we move later on into August potentially. But for right now, it just looks like, this week kind of just looks like, whatever we just forecasted for this week. And then next week looks more of the active type, with a lot more rainfall potentially, kind of like how last week was. And then the week after, obviously that's a bit too far out to really talk about. Now, how much rainfall are we expecting over the next 384 hours? Well, currently the GEFS says maybe 1.5 inches to only around 2.5 inches. So, this rainfall threat that we just had here for this weekend, that was the kind of the system right there to really get that rainfall for. And so if you did not get the rainfall that much during this system and you're over there in like the western areas, well, you kind of did miss out. Because I know there was a lot of areas that definitely did not get as much rainfall as they were forecasting. And I've seen people, already kind of talking about how, upset they were that they didn't get much rainfall, which I understand. But like I said, I can't control the weather. So if it was me, everybody would be, getting rainfall. Everybody would. So we can go in and get this drought out as quickly as possible. But for right now, we just got to continue to wait. And especially over there in those western areas where only 1.5 inches of rainfall is possible over the next 384 hours, that's going to be a long time there to really kind of check. And see, in 384 hours out, that goes all the way to August the 11th. August the 11th there. Now, this is what the drought currently looks like. Remember, most of that drought over there in the eastern part of the state. And then the western part, they're starting to calm down. They're starting to calm down a little bit. But there still is a couple of drought areas over there. So we still have a lot to go before we go in and completely get rid of this drought for sure. Now, if you want even worse news, look at the European. The European says maybe 1.5 inches for all of the upstate, all the Midlands. Until you get into around the low country areas. And finally, once you get towards like the coastal areas, you get to maybe around 3 inches of rainfall. So that's over the next 360 hours. 360 hours from the European. So overall, the next 360 hours, not really going to be the most beneficial in terms of, like major system moving in, producing a bunch of rainfall. Now, things can change. Obviously, we know that. Things definitely can change. And, we're not going to sit here and say that, this is kind of what we're expecting over the next 384 hours here. This is just what is possible over the next 384 hours. Because obviously, as we know, storms can come in. Like, for example, the storm down there, Hilton Head Island and Beaufort, that could be producing some beneficial rainfall. Or over there in, let's say, Florence, you could have a storm over there that kind of produces maybe around 2-3 inches of rainfall, just some random, summer day, just because that's just what time, a summer thunderstorm decided wanted to come towards your area and kind of just sit over your area. That could happen. And so probably for the best, though, if that does happen for a couple of these areas, and hopefully not like 1.5 inches of rainfall for some. So that's all they have to say, though, in terms of precipitation here for the long term for 360 hours out. What about temperatures past there? So past next week. We go over into Sunday, obviously we know it's going to be cooler, going over into Monday, and then even on Tuesday, we're 10 to 15 degrees above average. We move over even into Saturday. I didn't even realize I was moving throughout the week that fast. But moving through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you see some cooler air kind of trying to infiltrate its way through later on, into the evening hours, but it kind of looks like as you go towards the daytime, gets back up to around 5 to 10 degrees above average. And then as you move through into Tuesday, like August the 11th, it still looks pretty warm. So warmer than average temperatures are definitely making their presence known as well. And then in terms of our temperatures, actually, we move this into Monday going over into Tuesday. This is not even heat index values. This is just regular temperatures on Tuesday. GFS saying up to 104, 105 for actual temperatures. You move into Wednesday up into the hundreds once again. We take a little bit of a dip going into Thursday in the mid to lower 90s, but that's not really too much of any relief at all. You move later on into Saturday, and then we finally get some big time relief. This is Sunday of next week. Highs only in the 70s and 80s. And then we move over into into next week, and things get right back up into the hundreds once again. Now, what are the official heat index temperatures looking like as we move throughout, the next 300 plus hours or so? Well, we move forward into tomorrow first, and, we're up into the 105 to 110 range. We go to Tuesday, and we're back up 105, 110 range once again, maybe more. Wednesday, same thing. And then as we move later on into the week, it kind of gets up, but not really as much as, maybe Monday and Tuesday, just due to that cooler air moving through. But as we move into Monday of next week, going over into Tuesday, we're back up into the hundreds once again, and it's going to kind of just stay like that. And then that's pretty much all that I have to say in terms of the heat index. One more thing before we go on and talk about the talk with the audience here. I want to go on and take a look at our official pattern look as we move throughout the future. So if we go on, I'm just going to do the left screen instead. And so this is right here, times at the top right portion of your screen. And I'm going to move over, and I'm actually going to go to the GFS, do precipitation, go back. There we go. And so we're going to start off here. This is going to July 26th, so obviously this is today. You move this forward, and you get a little bit of a trough digging down. This is our risk of severe weather that tries to move its way through. That produces, us some unsettled weather over here in the east. Well, if you look over there inside the west, they're having some nice weather over there, having some fun in the sun, and overall, way better weather than what we are. It's definitely hot, though. I will say that. Definitely hot. There goes some hurricanes going on. I think that's Hurricane Genevieve down there inside of the Pacific. And then as you go into the 30th, moving on, another disturbance as you move later on into August the 1st. That is, again, that Saturday. That comes in, that produces some more activity, that produces some more cooler air, some more rainy conditions, maybe some severe weather or excessive rainfall activity over here inside of the eastern parts, while over there in the west, again, they're staying relatively nice. Now, as we move into like August the 5th, August the 6th, we're seeing some more, warmer conditions. We see maybe a little trough trying to break in as we move into like the 6th or so. But I mean, overall, high pressure kind of takes over, and we stay dry for the majority of or stay, not so active in terms of major storms moving into the beginning parts of August. It's really just as we move into August the 1st and the 2nd, that Saturday and that Sunday there, and maybe a little bit on towards like August the 6th, but I mean, past that, we start to see some warmer conditions overall. And as we go on and take a look at the JMA, which is just this is just really just the more stationary one. As you move later on to like the 28th, going all the way over into the 29th, August the 1st, August the 2nd, you can kind of just see how that system kind of progresses and how we kind of just stay over in those orange areas and those yellow areas. If you don't know what in the world I'm talking about right now, you can see kind of like the dips going on. That's the trough right there. And then if you look over into the west, that is a ridge. That is a ridge over there. And so that ridge over there, that's going to bring them drier weather. That's going to keep the storm systems away from them. And then that's going to keep them inside of also like a little just heat bubble over here. And then while over here inside of the east, we have this trough over here that's producing cooler temperature. That's producing, more severe weather, maybe some more excessive rainfall, maybe. And it encompasses just this entire portion. Let me get rid of this. It just encompasses this entire portion over here. Just because you have areas down there, in Florida that may not be included too much. I mean, you can take pretty much this entire area right here and kind of have it included in it just a little bit. But I do think that it may actually cut off around like right here. Because if you remember, the severe weather risk kind of cuts off in like the Midland area. So that's what we're looking at over here in terms of our trough. And that's what we're currently looking at in terms of just our weather pattern as we move throughout the first part of August. And then as we go on and end this out here, let's go on and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us here at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say here for tonight. Starting off here, Maya Lula was here first. She says, "Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. I pray that everyone had a wonderful Sunday. Well, thank you so much for that." Trail says, "Greetings, Joseph. Greetings to you. Lovely day here. Glad to hear that." My Aunt Lula comes back and says today in Georgetown it was 84, currently it's 78 degrees. It was a nice, pleasant day today. No rain today. Wow, no rain today. No rain today. I mean, and you were under, what, a slight risk of excessive rainfall for today? Yeah, you sure were. So, interesting. No rainfall for today. That's just, that can just show you right there that you could be under a slight risk of excessive rainfall sometimes and not receive any rain at all. My name says hello, Jay and all. Hello to you. I got a little more rain after you left. I still got book. I understand what you mean. I hung out with the plants in the Florida room. It was nice in there. It was nice in there. Okay. Well, glad to hear that you were outside getting some outside air, fresh air. And then my Aunt Lou says I can live with the weather we had today. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. In terms of what happened at my house today, in terms of weather, in terms of current weather right now, it's 80 degrees, and the high temperature for today was 88. So not 90 degrees, not 90 degrees at all. Good day to work if it wasn't raining outside. But if you were able to go outside and get some stuff done while it wasn't raining, probably did feel good out there. Thad says, "Good evening, gentlemen, the 360 weather family. I trust all is well with everyone. It is a very hot day here in San Antonio. It's 94, feels like 96. Hopefully we will get some type of precipitation relief soon. My yard really needs a good soaking. I did get out and did some yard work today. It looks much better with some edging. Well, I'm glad that you were able to go on and get some yard work done. Obviously, rainfall wise, we'll talk about that. But I mean, honestly, I don't really think that you're going to get much over the next 7 days, unless they just change something significantly, which we will check in just a moment. Flexmaster says, Gray Court got about an inch of rain over the whole week. Over the whole weekend. Okay. At my house today, we got around 0.88 inches of rainfall today. Yesterday, we got about 0.14. So yeah, about an inch of rainfall at my house too. And then my Aunt Lula comes back and says, No rainfall in Plantersville, though. And that's all that I can see here throughout the chat. So I'm going to go on real quick and give out the top fan question of the night for tonight. If you are asking what in the world's the top fan question, well, that's the question that I go on and give out and see who was paying attention tonight. Who was paying attention? And I'm going to ask a question from any part of the forecast for today. Whoever gets it correct, you will be the top. You'll be the top fan of the night for tonight. And you know what? We're going to go back to some roots. We're going to go back to some roots and see who can get this correct to kind of just make it a bit easier tonight. What was the crazy score for tonight? What was the crazy score for tonight? And if you, and also I will say this, not only can you get it if you can guess what was the crazy score for when we first checked it, if you can go on right now and go to the scweather360.com account and tell me the current crazy score, what's currently going on, again, that is scweather360.com. Whoever can go on to that website first and give me whatever crazy score it says right now, you will also be top fan of the night for tonight. So we can have 2 people for top fan of the night for tonight. So, again, whoever can go on there first to the website and kind of tell me what is the current crazy score, again, that is scweather360.com, I will go on and give you I will go and give you the top fan of the night for tonight, along with whoever goes on and answers the correct one. And I already see an answer, but we're not going to reveal it just yet. We're going to give people some more time to see, what happens. But there was also no earthquakes today over inside the state of South Carolina, so that was also something I was kind of keeping an eye on to kind of just see what happens, and that's about all. So we're going to go on and talk about the 4 areas outside of South Carolina. Well, if somebody does want to go in and look that up, see what happens there. But we're going to talk about San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about these 4 areas is because we have people from these areas who tune in almost nightly, and because they tune in almost nightly, we want to give them their forecast for them. And so San Antonio is the first forecast for tonight, with low temperatures tonight at 77, high temperatures for tomorrow at 98, low temperatures tomorrow night at 76. No precipitation over the next 7 days. It's going to be a bit breezy, though, as you move later on to like tomorrow night, maybe moving just throughout the week. Winds as high as 20 miles per hour as you move throughout the rest of the week here. It's going to continue to be hot as well, up to around 99 degrees on Wednesday, 100 degrees on Thursday, up to around 100 degrees going in on Saturday as well. So overall, things are going to kind of just take a turn towards the hot end and just the dry end. And so I know that you guys were kind of getting out of that drought. Hopefully we don't see that drought start up again. Obviously that'd be not really the best. And we don't really want to see that, start to come back. So hopefully you do get some rainfall pretty soon. Now, as we move on over into Raleigh, North Carolina, you have low temperatures tonight at 69, high temperatures for tomorrow at 88, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 71. Showers are likely as you move into tonight, and then as you go over into tomorrow, slight chance of thunderstorms. Some patchy fog also possible tonight and tomorrow. So if you're outside going into tomorrow morning or tonight, make sure that you go on and have low beams turned on, not high beams. Low beams turned on. Also, I'm just going to take this time to say this as well. Please make sure when it's raining outside, you have your headlights on. A lot of people that I saw out today, kind of disappointed. A lot of people I saw out today, they did not have any headlights on at all, and it was pouring down rain. I mean, pouring down rain, and I couldn't even see them until they finally got towards my car or so. So please make sure that you have your headlights on when it's foggy outside, when it's raining outside. Very, very important. That's very, very important. Now, there is no chance of rainfall as you go over into tomorrow night, and then tomorrow, there you do have a chance of thunderstorms there once again. Now, in terms of the SPC outlook, moving on over into the Raleigh area, going over into your excessive rainfall threat as well. You do have a risk of severe weather still for tonight, but to be honest with you, I don't really see too much else for you. So, we'll see what happens, but I don't really see too much. And then in terms of Tomorrow, you do have a risk of some isolated damaging wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour. And then Tuesday's the big day. Slight risk of severe weather. Excuse me, for Tuesday. Again, probably a damaging wind threat most likely. And then for excessive rainfall, isolated flash flooding possible on Tuesday, and that's the only day. Now, for your future, temperature-wise, you're going to continue to kind of climb up. You're going to be in the 90s going on into like Tuesday, Wednesday. But then Thursday comes along due to that cold front, cools down a little bit. But as we even get into like next weekend, for example, we're getting back up into the 80s or so. And so as we go on now and check the audience real quick, I do see the correct answer. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and give them a drum roll real quick and see who was correct. It was indeed my Aunt Lula. Right now, she did give me the score of a 13. That was the current score for what is currently going for what it happened earlier. And then my mom got the correct score for tonight, saying that it was a 12. So my Aunt Lula and my mom both are the top fans of the night for tonight. Let's go and give them a round of applause. Congratulations to the both of y'all for winning the top fan of the night for tonight. Again, if you want to be like them too, you can by joining us here 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Also, not only joining at 9 o'clock, being a subscriber, because if you're not a subscriber, there is a good chance that you will not be able to type, and you won't be able to type. So please subscribe. And then also, you have to be listening. You have to be active. Because there may be a time where I may pull out and say, well, maybe I want to see who was here first. Maybe I want to see who was the most active inside the chat today. Maybe I want to see who sent me over a weather photo at scweather360.com, because you never know when I can pull and see when it happens. So, those two are the winners for tonight. Now, moving on now to Raleigh, North Carolina. Not Raleigh. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You have low temperatures tonight at 67. High temperatures for tomorrow at 85. And then low temperatures tomorrow night at 69. Scattered showers are expected for tonight. Tomorrow, same thing. Tomorrow night, you do have a chance of thunderstorm activity. There going into tomorrow night. Now, in terms of your severe weather, tomorrow you do have a risk for some isolated flash flooding and some isolated damaging winds of up to 60 miles per hour. And then going into Tuesday, scattered damaging storms are possible with some severe weather with them. Now, as you move over into Tuesday, you do also have a risk for some scattered flash flooding as well. So there's a lot of things to take into account there as you move over into your future. And it's going to be active for you. It's going to be active for your future over there inside of Philadelphia. Now, once you get to around Thursday onward, things kind of calm down. But temperatures, they stay in the 80s or so. Stay about in the 80s. And so for the final location, probably the quietest location, that being Duncan, Oklahoma, with low temperatures tonight at 77. High temperatures for tomorrow at 103. And then low temperatures tomorrow night at 77. Now, no precipitation is expected over the next 7 days. You're good. Heat index values of up to 106 degrees is possible tomorrow, and it's going to stay up into the hundreds even as you move later on into the week. And that's all I have to really say there. No severe weather, no excessive rainfall, and overall things look good. What's going on throughout the entire U.S. weather news-wise? Well, heat expands across the desert Southwest, the Plains, the Mississippi Valley, and the Midwest into Monday. Fire weather concerns continue for portions of the Intermountain West. Active monsoonal moisture fuels thunderstorms over the Southwest with possible flash flooding. Tropical cyclone Fausto in the Pacific should weaken as it approaches Hawaii. Dangerous surf, swells, and rip currents are expected. So Hawaii is about to get hit with a strong storm over there, but it's going to weaken though before it gets there. And overall, I think the main thing that most people are talking about right now has to be just the heat. We have extreme heat warnings all the way from portions of Mississippi to Arkansas to Tennessee to Illinois to Missouri to Iowa. Kansas, all the way into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Montana, down into California. It's going to be hot. down to Las Vegas is going to be hot. Arizona, I mean, it's going to be hot throughout a lot of these areas, and a lot of that has to do with exactly what I showed y'all earlier with the pattern. Remember how I showed y'all how there was that ridge building in the west? Yeah, that is one of the reasons why it's getting hot over there, and it's staying kind of a bit cooler over here in the east, because we're over here dealing with the storm system. So we're actually the coolest area over, the entire U.S. right now. So that's pretty interesting and pretty cool to kind of think about. But that's all they have to say there in terms of the entire U.S. Don't see anything for me in my email. An honorable mention for tonight, my Nana was part of that, and then Thad was also a part of that, so congratulations to the two of y'all for being in the honorable mentions for tonight. And that's all I have to say there. If you've not hit the like button yet or the subscribe button yet, please go on and do so. Also, hit the share button, share with all of your friends, family members, acquaintances, people that you don't talk to regularly, because it's free. It's free. It's free. And then, I believe that is about all. So make sure you check out my website, seweather360.com. Again, that is seweather360.com. And I will be back going into tomorrow morning for your Monday morning forecast update, and then tomorrow evening for your Monday evening forecast update. Hit those two buttons before you leave if you are new.
So good. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. I love the way you walk, and I love the way you talk. When you walk that walk, and you talk that talk, you knocks me out off of my feet. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. How, 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 how. How, 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 how. Hey, hey. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. I love the way you walk. I love the way you talk. When you walk that walk and you talk that talk, you knocks me out off my feet. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang.
Boom, 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 boom. Gonna shoot you right down off of your feet. How, 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 how.
Hey.